quick reminder for you this afternoon, or actually this morning, I will be going out to Puritan Cleaners. All the Puritan Cleaners today are kicking off their big promotion that they do over the summer. You know about Coats for Kids, and I was so proud to be part of that. Right now, they're going to help. They're going to help. They're going to help feed more. Right now, 1 in 6 kids in Central Virginia have food insecurity, meaning their families don't know where the next meal is going to come from. That's why our friends at Puritan Cleaners started their annual 100,000 meals drive for Feed More. So I'm going to be out there at Puritan Cleaners in Short Pump between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. to help stock up the Feed More pantries for the summer months when these kids don't have anything to eat. You can't make it out. You can always go to PuritanCleaners.com, bring by non-perishable food, peanut butter, things like that, or you can make a cash donation. And with the buying power of Feed More, that becomes a force multiplier, and they can really make some things happen. So I'll be out there, Puritan Cleaners Short Pump between 11 and 1. Come by, say hi, and help us raise 100,000 meals for kids in Central Virginia this summer. All right, we're going to run out to the News Radio WRVA Newsmaker Hotline. Joining us right now, friend of the program, State Senator Byrce Reeves, our guest here on News Radio WRVA. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. It's great to hear you on the radio.
Absolutely. It's great to have you join us. You and I've got a chance to know each other a little bit. We hung out at the Navy 250 celebration over in Norfolk, and I enjoy when I get a chance to watch you work at the Senate. Unfortunately, when I was watching you work last time, we didn't have a budget. And while I was in Ireland, I thought, maybe we'll get a budget this time, but I still don't see a state budget. What is going on?
Well, it's time for you to go back to Ireland, because I don't think we're going to get one anytime soon with the poor leadership of Abigail Spanberger. So, it's we still have a chasm between the Senate and the House budget, and the Senate leadership through Louise Lucas. She's a lot like those Navy vessels, the Truman that we saw down in Norfolk. She's unmovable. It's going to take some time. She's going to hold fast. So, they've got to get in the room. They got to get to work. But I think it's time for the governor to intervene, and she's got to lead at some point.
Is the GOP involved in this, or is this just Louise Lucas in the state Senate versus Don Scott and the House of Delegates, and Abigail Spanberger is just kind of standing off to the side?
Well, that's a good way to call balls and strikes. There's 5 of us. I'm one of 5 on Senate Finance. There's 2 Republicans on the conference committee. But pretty much the chairman's going to run the show on that. It's her game. It's her committee. We have input. Certainly we have input. And actually, Louise does listen to the Republicans on the committee. Especially, she realizes, she's a smart lady, been there a long time, that not all her colleagues are the sharpest pencils in the box either. So, I'm pretty proud of those members. One of our members who is also our leader, Ryan McDougall, he and Senator Sturtevant, they just beat the hell out of Jay Jones and his filing in the Supreme Court. So we've got a good win just the other day for redistricting, and I think it'll be a couple weeks before we get a final verdict. But so far, so good.
Let me come back to let me come back to the budget, because I really want to know, and I want our listeners to understand, what is the holdup. From what I read, and from being down in there at Capitol Square and going in and watching the debates, that it boils down to, we have tax breaks for data centers, and when the data centers come in, and I've checked with different folks about this, so I think I'm pretty buttoned up on this. They build these big data centers. They're so hot. There's so much that goes through. They burn through servers. They burn through things very quickly. They get a tax break on buying those things. They get other taxes that they have to pay. We give them that incentive to put the data centers down here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's something we all agreed on when we wanted to make sure that we became the leader in data centers. Louise Lucas wants to wipe that out, get $1.5 billion back into the budget. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, that's it. It's not really about data centers itself. It's about finding money. And the reality is, Glenn Youngkin left us in a phenomenal position with a $2.7 billion surplus, $157 million of capital investment in the top 5 in CNBC. I mean, we slid from 1 to 4, but we're still in the top 5. My predictions, Rich, is next CNBC rating, we're probably going to fall into the 30s and 40s, along with our sister state, Maryland, to our north. But the reality is, it's about funding. And Abigail Spanberger,
But
she
sir,
vetoed
let me
the
interrupt you for a
gaming
second.
stuff.
Let me interrupt you for a second. It's only been 100 days. How are we going from having Glenn Youngkin surplus to now needing $1.6 billion? It's been 100 days. What's gone on?
Well, you've got Democrats in total control. They got a House that has a lot of new members who don't understand that we have to have a balanced budget. They want to spend every dollar that Virginians have. You saw 50 new tax examples or bills coming out of the original House that were coming out that everybody wanted to raise taxes. So they ate that up with all their nice little things they wanted to spend money on. That's how they got there. It was like a young kid with a credit card going out, or a lot of young couples when they first get married to go out and they say, hey, I want to have all this new furniture in our house, just like everybody else. And they had us living beyond our means. And so that's the reality that we're in right now, is they just want to tax and spend. Her thing on affordability, it'll be affordable once we get all these corporations, these bad corporations, so to speak, that they always chant on. And we're just going to tax the hell out of them. But the reality is, this is going to be a telltale sign for companies whether or not they're going to invest in Virginia. We made a promise to these folks. We can certainly work with them. They're willing to work with us on some of that, and we can backfill some of those things. But the reality is, Spanberger, she vetoed a lot of the issues that we've been working on for years versus, the gaming commission, skill games, all these different things where skill games help our small businesses. We can get a handle on all the 90,000+ illegal games out there and clean them up. She vetoed all that. And those were ways to get money back in.
Well, we saw Boeing quietly pulled out of the Commonwealth, went back to Missouri. And here's the part. I talk about this with Governor Allen all the time. Why is Tennessee kicking everybody's tail down here? The businesses flock to Tennessee. Why not Virginia?
Well, they're solidly a red state, a very conservative state. They're fiscally responsible. They don't have income tax. Cost of living is a lot lower. Texas, Tennessee, and Florida. I got back from Texas watching my son wear senior boots for the last time at A&M, and it's just booming. I mean, you look, it's growth everywhere. It's just unbelievable. And, Texas is a little different. They're tied to the oil industry, but the reality is it's just growing through aeronautical stuff down at NASA.
People are flocking there.
Tennessee is no different.
People are flocking there.
Well,
okay.
they've got continuity of leadership.
Let's go back to something for just a second, because I do want to be fair to the governor. I'm looking for leadership.
She's not fair to us.
Well, I'm gonna show some grace. But I do want to know where is the leadership coming from? Where is her voice in all of this? Because if we're at an impasse like this, we get through the General Assembly, we don't get anything. We come back and we have the budget session we had, we don't get anything. Where is the spot where the governor needs to step in, get these two together, Scott and Louise Lucas? Because we're not talking about, I'm trying to bring Byrce Reeves, who's bright Republican red, and Don Scott, who's cobalt blue, getting Republicans and Democrats to work together. They're both members of her party. When does she step in and say, enough is enough, I've got to have a budget?
Right after she was sworn in. You don't have to worry about Don Scott and I. Don Scott and I actually both went to school together, and we actually get along well. So we can work together. The problem is she's out trying to run for higher office, and everybody knows that. That's why she's kicking some of these things down to way after she's out of office, because she doesn't want to go on the record. Her challenge is that she was in Congress, one of 432, I think it is, whatever that is. And so the only way she could stand out is by saying she was a moderate. She got here, and guess what? The buck stopped on her desk. She doesn't know how to lead. She's not leading. She's not getting in there. She's not grinding. I couldn't tell you, other than my colleagues that went into the administration, any of her staff.
Okay, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. What's the difference that you see in what Glenn Youngkin did on a daily basis versus what Abigail Spanberger does on a daily basis?
Well, Glenn Youngkin, he came to the General Assembly. He actually went to the minority parties or the ruling parties at that time when Glenn was in, and he met with these folks, and he had an understanding. And look, he had a rocky relationship with Senator Lucas. She played gangster, and she would beat on Glenn all the time. But Glenn was persistent, and he led, and he knew how to talk business to these large corporations, and he got them to come here, and he set a vision, and he executed, and his staff executed. And they got in there, and they just grinded to get this business to come in. And, their EDA, they were striving to do that thing. They weren't the first things undoing and making us unsafe by getting out of 287G. They didn't file this lawsuit to show redistricting, some bipartisanship, when she was on the record saying gerrymandering is bad.
No.
So people don't trust her, Rich. No one trusts her. Period.
And I watch Juan Pablo Montoya, and I think he's a superstar, and I think he did a great job bringing business over here. So I saw towards the end, and I've only been here a year, I saw how Glenn Youngkin's staff would actually get their roll up their sleeves, get something done. I know you love the Commonwealth. I love the Commonwealth. I'm so proud to live here in Virginia. And, we always get in that point where, yeah, they're an opposition party, but I don't want to root against the Commonwealth of Virginia. So I'm going to ask you in 30 seconds, I'm going to put you on the spot because I respect you so much. If you could give any advice to the governor to run this Commonwealth for the good of not the Republicans or the Democrats, but the good of the people that you've been elected to serve, what would you ask her to do?
I would ask her to work with Republicans and stop placating to her base and seeking higher office. Do the job you just got sworn in to do. Take care of the people like when she was my congresswoman, and constituent services, not I'm looking to be the next president.
And I think that would be something that all of us could agree on. This Commonwealth needs leadership that's engaged.
100%. That's the nail on the head.
Right there, folks. And again, that's not partisan, because at the end of the day, I have a talk show. You're a member of the state Senate, but we're both Virginians, and we both want our families and our neighbors to be prosperous, right?
Look, rising tide raises all boats. We've got to help everybody at the same time, and we've got to be able to walk and chew bubblegum and think at the same time. So, look, we're here. We've reached the olive branch out several times. None of my colleagues are on a daily basis talking to anybody in the administration. They're not working with us, and that's fine. I understand you have a total majority. But if that changes, it's really going to change. And right now, Virginians are just pissed. You've taken away their gun rights. You've taken away their congressmen. You're trying to cheat them. They don't trust our administration, anything they say. And that's a problem. And she's going to have to show some trust, because it's kind of like getting bit by a dog. You don't know if you're going to walk up to that dog, you're going to get bit again.
100%.
That's the challenge.
100%. By the way, congratulations on your son. I kind of let that go by because I didn't want to talk about our subject matter, but the fact that he's in the Corps of Cadets at A&M, I've been down there. I've covered a lot of football games down there. I've seen them march.
Oh, yeah.
It's impressive. So I just wanted to say, tell him thank you for everything.
Well, he's headed to the Marine Corps graduation in December, and
Really?
he hopes to fly. So we're thrilled for him, and he's going to carry the same tradition on my family has always done, to serve in uniform. So we're proud of him, of course.
See, we're waiting for mine to find out whether he's getting a PLC slot to come to Quantico this summer, or a Navy ROTC Marine option for a senior year to go to the Marine Corps. So, hey, you never know. They might serve together.
Same thing, Rich.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing. Yeah, they might wind up going together. Who knows?
That would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be funny?
That would be fun.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for everything, and I'll catch up with you soon.
You bet.
All right.
Have a
Thank you
good
so
day.
much.
Yep.
Bryce Reeves
Bye-bye.
joining us here on News Radio WRVA. We'll talk with Michael Greer, GreerFinancialGroup.com here in